What's up, mi raza? You're tuned in to Raza Stamp Podcast, and I go by Brown.
And this is your the co-host, Flo.
And this is episode number 3. And thank you for everyone that's been tuning in. We've been having some good dialogue in the comment section. Not on YouTube yet. We would like for people to start that conversation, because there's a lot that we went over in the past couple episodes. And would like to get some dialogue with some raza that that love to talk. You know Barrio, all the stuff that we talk about between raza. So today we're going to focus on the topic of economics in the barrio, economy in the barrio. And we're going to go talk about some history on it, and talk about current affairs stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to focus on.
Yeah, we're also going to cover the different philosophies when it comes to economics. I know there's a lot. There's way too many to cover, but we're going to cover ones that I think get used a lot, but are not really, at least from my understanding or from my experience, people use the words loosely and don't really know what they mean. So we're going to break down the definitions today, just to really go get into them and what they mean and the history behind them. But
Mhm.
yeah, we're talking about the economy and the economic philosophies, and how we relate to that as a community, the brown Spanish speaking community, like I like to say, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, man. I know that before we got started, you had a pretty good, you know, spiel on, how you wanted to get this thing started. So, let us know, man. I mean, how do we play a role in economics here in the U.S.? What's how do we contribute to the economy? How do we do not contribute? Where do we
Hmm.
stand when it comes to economics, man?
Those are good questions, and a lot of, I mean, I don't specialize in economics, but I can give you some stuff that I've read or seen. I was born in the '80s, so I didn't get to fully embrace it as much as I could. The '80s, the '90s, I can tell you some stuff about Clinton and the stuff that was going on. But when we talk about history of the barrios, that's the whole thing with, like, for the people that seen the cover for today's episode. It was a food stamp, and the reason why I decided to design that is to take people back to the past within the barrios. That brought back a lot of memories, I bet. And some people even commented on Instagram, like damn, that brought back memories. Some people commented like that's the money that Jefita used to pay in the stores to feed us. I'm like, you know what? That's something that as a kid, I bet a lot of people still, they got that engraved. And a lot of people struggled through the time, like we struggle nowadays. And I mean, nothing much has changed in that aspect. But the presidents at the time, like when you were mentioning earlier, like Reaganomics, uh what he was trying to push is like he was trying to cut back taxes, as I
Yeah,
haven't understood.
yeah.
And he was trying to, like, go more of the, what is that, like the neoliberal,
Neoliberalism.
yeah, neoliberalism. He was trying to do a lot of that, which a lot of people did, dislike them for that reason. um
Yeah,
and that really, as for, I mean, raza up to lately have been having, like, businesses and stuff. Like nowadays you see a lot of Latinos that have their businesses. Back then we didn't really have that much, like, to be honest. Like,
tamales, just tamale,
yeah, 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 just like vendor type stuff. Yeah, you know what I mean. But business, like established and all that. That's like a recent thing that I seen. But most of the tax cuts that they were doing back then were geared more towards businesses and stuff like that. So where were we benefiting from that? That's why the poor was getting poorer back then. And
Yeah.
not to mention the drug war that was going on back then. That fucked up things even worse. You know what I mean? So, all that you got to take into consideration where we come from. Like that's a struggle. Like a lot of people went through that, and people are like the OGs nowadays. They went through that as like what? What were they like in their 20s? The
Yeah.
OGs nowadays they were probably in their 20s. So it's like they still have that in their minds. That they still go back in time sometimes. Like I get flashbacks of things of when I was a youngster, you know what I mean? So they get flashbacks of like, damn, like we went through a lot as a people. Like look at all this things that we strive through, and still it feels like we're back in step one. Some of the things that are still going on, it feels like we're back in step fucking one. And you want to get some info in on your take on Reaganomics?
Yeah, man. So I mean, I'm also from the '80s. I was born in '86, so it was right when amnesty also took place. My parents came in
Mm.
the '70s, so I mean, they benefited from that, from amnesty because I mean, when I was born, they were still undocumented.
Mm.
But I mean, I know that one of my uncles, he's like a big Reagan fan because of that. I mean, he was like 10 or no, I think it was like 12 actually when that happened. But he came from Mexico. He was an immigrant, but he came when he was like 3, probably younger than that, honestly. So, you know, because of that, he's like a lifelong Republican. He's been a Republican
Uh.
his whole life. Um, besides other factors, but yeah, I mean, he talks about how that, I don't think Reagan, really had the intention to help out, immigrants. It was more like you said to help out businesses because a lot of these
Mm.
businesses had undocumented people, and they were, you can't really, I mean, you could do that, but I mean, but it's not legal, so
Yeah.
it was going to help the economy. It was going to help out these people. Obviously, they were going to pay a certain fine for coming here illegally. Everybody was going to win, right? That was a logic, and but it did help out a lot because my parents. I don't know how your parents were, but when my parents came to the states, at least my dad, he was 17, so he was still a young man. I mean, he was
Mm.
trying to get some cash, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and his mindset was like, I'm gonna make some money here, go back to Mexico, make my house over there, and live it up over there, and he got his house and made his house, and had some kids over here, and he was like, I don't think I'm gonna go back anymore. It's a little too late for
Mm.
that. So we got a house over there in Mexico that it's just sitting there, like sitting pretty, and uh, but yeah,
Not to
man.
cut you off, bro. Not to cut you off, bro. But like, let's go more deeper into that right there that you just mentioned.
Okay.
I I wasn't even thinking how if that even fit into this topic, but it fits perfectly, bro. Because a lot of the people that are against immigrants coming over here,
Hmm.
um they say this that they send money back
Yeah.
to Mexico. That's I hear a lot of that.
Yeah.
People that don't like immigrants. Um, Now see that's where I get kind of mixed emotions
Okay.
because you know what I mean. Like I understand, I understand where that what I mean. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen my parents do that. We have a house out there,
Yeah.
and a lot of what went into the house came from U.S. dollars. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't want to sound like I'm hating against my people, but it's like that it makes sense why they get mad about it. You know what I mean?
I
It
hear you.
makes sense why they get mad about it because like how would you oh,
You got that sound effect you got right now. Just play, bro.
yeah, it's a haters giving me the evil eye.
Hey, you're just coming out.
It's a haters giving me the evil eye. Now, but like, how would you feel, bro, if you're in Mexico and people go to United States to they come to say that it was reversed. That
Yeah.
what I mean is like United States and Mexico, and people are coming into Mexico to work, and then they leave to take the money back where they got it from into the United States, and then that makes the economy kind of fluctuate in a negative way because you're doing that. I mean, you as a citizen of Mexico, you wouldn't like that shit.
Yeah, and I think that's why Mexico is okay with all the migrants doing that because at the end of the day, they come back and contribute to the economy in Mexico. But I mean, I personally don't really care because I think at the end of the day, people here who work here, I mean, they still get, even though they might not spend their money here, intentionally. I mean, they do, to some extent still. But
Yeah.
if you have a business, and you're paying somebody a certain amount of wage, I mean, you're still making money off
Yeah.
them. So
Exactly.
still, you're still benefiting from their labor, So
Mm.
I mean, I think if that wasn't the case, then illegal immigration. If we could have stopped illegal immigration a long time ago if we really wanted to stop it, but it doesn't benefit all of these businesses that hire people who are undocumented. Let's be real, like we
Mm.
talked about last week. Like if you're really mad at somebody for coming over here, because they took your job or whatever, it's like, what does it say about you as a person, about your skill set? I mean, like, are you gonna let somebody with no skills really come and take your job? I mean, you shouldn't be fighting for a job that they're getting paid, basically garbage. I mean,
Yeah.
but I understand too what you're talking about. If I was a person, that lived here, and well, I do live here, but if I was somebody who didn't really understand that and be like, yeah, you guys just come here and just reap the benefits and then leave. I mean, I get that rhetoric too. I understand why people say that. So I know what you're saying. I hear you. And and for the most part, like I said, most people who come here don't want to stay here. They want to just you know get the money from here and then go back and
Hmm.
live where they want to live. But I mean, they end up getting stuck here because they get married, they have kids, then they have a mortgage, or it just becomes part of the life. I mean, like I asked my dad all the
Yeah.
time, I said, why did you even come? Considering you guys live off the land where you were from, I mean, you didn't need to come here. He's like,
Yeah.
I was
Mm.
bored. I wanted to get out of this damn fucking village. I needed to go somewhere else.
Mm.
So you understand that mindset too, like you understand why that's the case. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah,
And
of
I'm not just talking about Mexico because a lot of people do it from other countries too. They
course,
come over here and then they take the money back from like I know some Philippines that did that too. And out there in the Philippines, bro, that shit's like it's a lot of money, bro.
yeah,
US dollars to their money, that's a lot of fucking money. It's like double the amount or some shit. But
yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like I get it, you know what I mean? I get the whole thing where people that are against
yeah,
immigration, is like I get it, but like I've said before, it's just like there's open dialogue that you can have.
of course.
Don't be a fucking don't become a minute man and go out there and fucking try shooting people down and shit.
That's
Like
not.
like
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I would still argue if we were doing that and we were just making a killing and we were like at the very top of the economic ladder, then yeah, there's a problem because you're not really contributing to the economy here. But that wouldn't
Mm,
make any sense. You would probably stay here if that was the case, right? So as of 2015, we're still at the bottom of the economic ladder, bro. You know,
mm,
the median household income, is 42,500, right, for a family, right? And immigrants, I mean, speaking about immigrants, they make 34,000, right, compared to U.S. citizens, raza, 47,000, right? So there's a big jump, right, from being an immigrant to being a U.S. citizen, right?
mm,
But still, we're still at the bottom, bro. Like uh, the people at the top are Asians,
mm,
and that includes immigrants too. I mean, they earn the most, then whites, then blacks, and then us. So
mm,
we're still suffering from poverty at the. I mean, I guess if you don't include Native Americans, I mean, I guess they would probably be at the very bottom. But as far as like every other ethnicity or culture or whatever, we're there. But yeah, man, um, when it comes to that, we can definitely still get better, but there's still obstacles, as to why we're not,
mm.
you know.
Yeah, man. I just
Yeah,
remember a lot of people used to say back in the day that like I'm getting paid 5 an hour, man. That's crazy.
I
I'm like,
remember
man,
that.
I'm getting paid a lot. That's crazy. I could buy a lot of shit. And I was like a kid, and like I was like 5'6", and I remember like one of my cousins was already like had graduated high school, I think, and he was like happy because he got this job in like I think it was like some uh chicken place, or they sell chicken, like I don't know if KFC or something. And he was like, "Damn, they're gonna start me off at 350. That's dang, that's a
Mm.
lot." I'm like, think about it now. It's like, fuck, 350. But then you gotta consider at the time all these things that, you know what I mean. They were like things that are like $1.50 now were like a quarter back then. Things that were like things that things that are now like $10 were like a couple bucks back then. You know what I mean? So you start thinking about it, and like really nothing much has changed. All they did was just fucking inflated the amount of what, items cost nowadays. Inflation went up, and it's like damn. So it's like people will start thinking, like we're doing much better nowadays. We're doing much better. Not really. If you put everything into its point of view, it's not really. It's pretty much the same shit.
And inflation, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, it's already happening now, and I don't know if you noticed with, I don't
The
know how it is
gas.
there, with gas, like gas over here is
Yeah.
430, where I live, you know.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started driving, gas was, I think it was like 150, and that was back in 2005,
Uh,
and just, I remember when it just started to skyrocket, and I was like, damn, what's going on here, and it was 270. I was
yeah.
like, man, like it's a lot. And then it hit like 450. I think it was 2008, it hit 450. That's the highest I'd ever seen it. But yeah, I mean, I think for our people, when it comes to money, obviously, like I said, we are at the bottom of the ladder, right, in the current
Mm,
system that we live under, and it's capitalism, uh, you know, and we'll get more into what that is a little later. But I think a big reason why, our people don't like capitalism is because we're not benefiting from it, right? As a community, most of us don't have money. Most of us don't have property. So it's easy to say, well, what the fuck? Like, why are we doing this if we're not benefiting from
mm,
it, right? It's really easy to be like, well, and historically too, bro, not just now. I mean, historically, I mean, our ancestors, right? If you go back to Europe, right? We talking about our European ancestors, right? The Spaniards or Portuguese or whatever you're from. I mean, they were peasants in Europe, and I say that
mm,
because if they were not peasants in Europe, then they wouldn't have come here.
mm-hmm.
Like they were not
Yeah,
landlords, I mean, they worked for a landlord and they were peasants, so
yeah.
took that chance, and if you talk about our native, and for some of us African or Asian ancestors, they were peons and slaves in Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
So historically, in the last 500 years, we have not benefited from the current system. So I understand, why people, you know, dislike it, right? So most people, well, not most people, I mean, a majority, I think, of our people, who become educated, who are influenced by the left, a lot of them are very attracted to communism, right? And communism is, I don't know about you, but like when I used to hear it, I would think about Russia. That was the first thought that came to mind. Russia, what is communism? But
I think China for some reason.
yeah, China, right? I mean, China, Cuba, right? All of these other countries, right? But really, communism, they're really like, I mean, when people say there hasn't been a communist country, they're right, because communism is, you don't have it's stateless, right? There's no
Mm,
country. Like it's just communities. It's that's why it's called communism, right? It's moneyless. There's no money involved, and there's no class, right? There's no classes, right? So all of this obviously sounds ideal to people because I mean, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, like especially us, we've been oppressed, historically. We don't have, you know, dividends. We don't have money. We don't have property for the most part. So most young people who become educated, in the humanities, right, tend to be attracted to this type of economic philosophy because it benefits us, right? We're the
mm-hmm.
have-nots. As a matter of fact, bro, 1/3 of millennials today, they approve of communism, right?
Mm.
It's pretty crazy, and that's because of
It's
the
because of that the whole inclusion type of thing that everyone wants inclusion. Everyone wants
exactly.
to be equal and things. Well, I mean, I'm not saying it like in a sarcastic, be equal.
I
Like
hear you.
I'm
I
saying it
hear
like it is a thing to say. Is a thing to do. You
you.
have
Yep.
to be a part of that because if not, then you're not a good human. Of You know what I
Exactly.
mean? On like a modern day human, you're not a good modern day human. So it's like the thing to say. But like as for communism in general, bro, I think humans by nature, we we want to be better than others. Like it's like we have that in us. We can't just be like, okay, I'm gonna have the same as everyone else. And I'm gonna be okay with that. It's like by nature we want to do better. It's in
I
us for some reason.
I agree with you 100%, and that's why I'm not a communist. You know what I mean? Like I used to be. I mean, when I was younger, and like you said, it goes back to the whole being inclusive and not leaving people behind. Um, and I mean the pros of communism, are they are community oriented, right? So like
Uh-huh.
it's not a country, so if you want to really establish communism, you would have to dissolve all countries, right?
Hmm.
Basically just be like your neighborhood or maybe you're even your family because it's a little
Hmm.
community of people, right? And you have what they call the barter system. Since there's no money, you place value on an object, right? So for example, if this thing costs whatever, $3, right now with capitalism, right? With communism, what you would end up doing is you would put the value on that. So let's say you want to take
Hmm.
somebody's, I don't know, orange or whatever, you can say, well, I'll give you this for the orange, and you guys would both decide that. So that's a pro, right? Obviously, and there's more leisure time because you're just working to get things done, not to stack more money, right? And hypothetically, obviously, because there's no classes, then there wouldn't be oppression. But like you said, right? Um, Personally, just looking at history, um, it just I don't see that happening. I just don't see how human beings are not going to do that. So I think if we had communism, even if we dissolved the U.S. or if we dissolved China or whatever country we had, I think we would have a new type of hierarchy.
Hmm.
Like we would go back to the Stone Age where the biggest baddest motherfucker like becomes the leader, because even like native societies had chiefs. you know
Hmm.
you had, or even the Aztecs, they had the Tlatoanis, the kings, they had concubines. I mean, they got to spread their seeds with as many women as possible. How do they determine that? It
They
was
had
based on
they probably had podcasts back then. Can you imagine in the huts and shit? Hey, Tate Juan, we're going to do a podcast right now. Pay attention. Go on Zoom, cabron. Now, but check this out, bro.
yeah.
What I was thinking about, the other day I was talking to my wife about this too, because we know some people from India
Okay.
that my wife used to work with, and she stayed cool with them even afterwards, after
Okay.
she left the business. Um, I noticed that, and not just people from India, but other people like Asians.
Yes.
They do this a lot where they help each other out. Whether one has a business and the other one comes straight from wherever they came from, either somewhere in India or whatever, and they're fresh from coming over there, so that they don't know the rules and stuff.
Yeah,
So they put them on game.
they do.
The people that their people put them on game, and then they even start them off with their own fucking business. So it's like damn. But the downside of having that is that there was a couple guys that were getting kind of greedy.
Mm.
So they were doing people, wrong. They were like burning their bridges and shit.
Oh shit.
And but the thing is, what I love about the whole thing, about that whole way that they form their group, their circle, is that they give them it's like they have to be responsible, because you don't want to burn the people that are, the hand that's feeding you. You don't want to do that,
Yeah.
because then they'll fucking disown you. They won't allow you in the circle anymore. So it gives them some. They have to be, step up and be responsible with their things. So that's what we need to give our people. It's like, you know, you have to give them some. What is that? I'm trying to think of the word, bro. It's like,
Motivation.
yeah, not only that, but to
Networking.
keep to keep them to be responsible with their shit. Because if not, then it'll get taken away by the person that provided it.
give them some structure, give them some
some
independence.
liability, some you know, to be reliable enough to take that work and run with it. But basically, that's what they do, bro. And I love that shit because we don't have that.
No, we don't.
Whenever we see someone struggling down and out, we kick them some more. You know what I mean? It's, instead of reaching out, oh, you know what? I know how to do this. I can probably get you started. You know what I mean? That's why whenever the little bit that I knew of podcasting, bro, and every time that I would meet someone and had a good story and they had the passion for to start something of their own,
Mhm.
even though I haven't really been doing it for long, the podcasting thing is like about a year altogether.
Yeah.
I would let them know what I know. I would tell people, you know, hey, you want to start something like that? You should.
Yeah.
Everyone has a voice. You know what I mean? You can be the next big thing, and that's not what it's about anyway. But you can be something important that people will follow and actually learn from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But and I would tell them, you know what, you should do this and this and that. And that's what I'm saying, bro. Like I've changed that because I used to be the opposite. I used to be, I mean, I fucking put myself out there and say that I used to be a fucking dick. Like I will, you know, if I seen someone that was struggling, I'd be like, ah, it's a pendejo. Like, you know, like, but now I'm like, why not help others? Like, why not fucking, you know, if we know something and you know we can teach it to others. Like that's what they do, and we're not doing that shit. We're not teaching our own shit, bro.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I'm gonna get more into that later on as I go through other philosophies. But uh, with while I'm going through the philosophies, I mean, as I'm going through the pros and the cons, uh, because everything has pros and cons, right? I mean, and I think that's why. But most people who are attracted to communism, they go with the pros, because like I said, it's community oriented, right? Like you were talking about, hey, you can help people out, right? If they need something, because communism is not about it's lack of competition, right? There's no competition, right? And and most people don't like that because one, to be competitive, that's like a personality trait, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people just don't like to do that, and in this society that we live in, you have to be to some extent because
Yeah.
that's how we thrive. That's how we thrive. At least economically. Uh, but as far as like the cons, like I talked about the hierarchies, and also if there's no state, and there's no, that means there's gonna be no police or whatever, no
Mm.
no type of something that's regulating, people from fucking up. There's gonna be lawlessness, bro. I mean, like it's just gonna happen, right? So let's say that your neighbor, just doesn't want to do the work. Who's gonna hold them accountable?
Mm.
The community. I mean, you could, but I mean, what if you know people just don't really care? I mean, like, and it's gonna happen because if there's no competition, there's lack of motivation, right? There's lack of
Mm.
creativity.
But
So
that's it right there, though, bro. What you just
yeah,
said, accountability.
exactly.
And that's what I was talking about. That's the word that I was looking for, to hold them accountable. Like if they're not you know, if you can't trust this person, then they're gonna feel the pressure of like, oh damn, they're not gonna allow me in that circle anymore. What the fuck am I gonna do on my own? Like I have to be in that circle to thrive. Because
Yeah,
if I'm not, like I'm on my own. What the fuck? You know, so that pressure is similar to the pressure of getting up in the morning going to work, you know, because you have to, you know, keep that going. Like you can't slack off.
exactly, bro. Yeah, I mean, and again, communism has its pros and its cons, and I think that is one of the pros is the that you build community with people, but like you said earlier, I think humans are just not built like that. They're built to always want more, to want better. It's human nature. I mean, even if you study, lobsters, right?
Hmm.
One of the most primitive creatures, on Earth, they compete for mating. I mean, like just think about
Hmm.
that. I mean, and humans are a little more complex, but at the end of the day, bro, we're competing for mating. Everything
Hmm.
we do, it comes down to that. I mean, let's go get that fresh fade. Why? So we can get the girls, right?
Hmm.
Let's go get money so when we get the girls. Let's go get that car so when we get the girls. I mean, like everything comes down to that. We don't word it that way. Even intellectuals, I want to be the smartest fool in the room, so I can be attractive to women. I mean, like, at least, I mean, if you're straight, obviously if you're not,
Yeah.
that's different, but you know, it comes down to that at the end of the day. And we might not even be aware of that, but as a species, as an organism, our goal is to reproduce. You
Hmm.
know, if you're gonna do anything, it's gonna be that. You know, so I mean, it's really hard to have a society where there's no competition because even the animals do it.
Hmm. Let's
You know?
not go into the spiders, bro. You know what they do, right?
Now, what do they do?
The what's it called? The female spider. I don't even
Black
know what
widow?
what is it?
The black widow?
The black widow. There you go.
Yeah,
Uh, she actually kills its
that's right.
mating.
That's right.
Yeah, its partner after mating. She kills him.
That's right. I heard
That's
about
a trip, huh?
that. Yeah.
Imagine that shit. Imagine humans did that shit. All right, bitch, I'm done.
Done. You gave me
It'll be the other one, bro. It'll be the other one.
out.
It'll be the girl. It'll be the girl. All right, fool, I'm done. Out.
I'm done. I'm eating out of here, right?
Man,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, but really, in through history, bro, like it's been a doggy dog world, man.
it
No
is.
matter where you go, really. I mean, even if it's a communist, place where you're structured place where you're at, even in China, I bet there's certain types of this competition everywhere, bro.
There
This
is.
gotta be. This gotta be because that's just a human instinct. Like that's like you can't change that.
Exactly. And that's the reason why I'm gonna get into the next, topic because socialism and communism are used interchangeably. And I used to think they were the same thing growing up, like because I didn't know any better.
Mm,
But just hearing these words thrown around, like I said, I mean, they're not the same thing. The difference between socialism and communism is that socialism, the state controls the means of production. So these are your Chinas, these are your Cubas, Venezuela, right? Uh, where the state essentially tells you what you're worth, and they only pay you a certain amount of money, right? So they control the economy, they control they control the market, right? As opposed to in capitalism, that's not what's happening, right? And again, we're attracted to that because historically we have not benefited from capitalism. So, that's why a lot of people that I know are socialists, in our community in the barrios, and people who study Chicano studies or whatever. A lot of them, identify with socialism because also, Pancho Villa, right? I mean, Emiliano Zapata, Che Guevara, right? Easy Alen, Chicano, these are Chicano icons, that we look up to. And, Zapata and Villa were not necessarily socialists, but they were fighting the man, they were fighting the oppressors, who had a bunch of money. Che Guevara was, he was definitely against capitalism, and, you know, so that's why we're also attracted to that, right? Also, Bernie Sanders, recently AOC, right? Democratic Socialist. That was the word I was looking for, last week. Uh, that's what we tend to lean that way. When I say we, I'm talking about our community again. Like raza, right? What do you think
mm.
on that, bro?
Um. So taking it back to Zapata and Villa, bro. For the most part, I see them as like as they call them the Robin Hoods. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But you know, I'm not sure how much of this is true, bro. But I've read that they wouldn't really give that much to the poor. They most of the money they kept it and they did like parties and shit like that. Like literally, they did like como se llama? Like they would invite people with like in high places
yeah.
and like do all kinds. I don't know how much. Have you ever heard something like that they will like just splurge the money?
Well, from what I heard is that, I mean, I think more so with Villa because I know that Villa and Zapata had way different personalities. Villa was
Mm-hmm.
more of a mujeriego. And he impregnated so many women, bro. I mean, he got so many women pregnant.
Yeah.
Dejó un reguedero de women. I mean, the kids
Yeah. The
everywhere.
kids.
Like everybody in Chihuahua claims that they're descendants of Villa, right? They're like, oh, Pancho Villa was my great grandfather, whatever. Like who knows if
Mhm.
that's true or not? But I know that with him, it was more like more personal because, in the sense that, they say that his sister was raped by an hacendado, you know what I mean? And he just want he wanted, he had the charisma to get people to follow him, so yeah, I'm sure he had a personal agenda, but I don't know if you've seen the movie. I know that, when Antonio Banderas was played Pancho Villa, I know that people were pushing back against that because, like, how can you let a Spaniard, play a
Mm.
Mexican icon? Like that's without looking at that. If you look at that story, I mean, like if it's real, if that's actually the true story, it kind of shows a side of him that, especially in that scene where he ends up killing one of the women, because she's like, oh, you you told me my husband wasn't gonna die, and she's just hysterical, so he ends up just shooting her in the head. And
They
the
were ruthless, bro.
yeah, yeah, I
They
mean,
were
they're
ruthless.
revolutionaries, bro. I
People
mean,
want to, and I don't want to paint a bad picture because everyone has their flaws, bro. I'm just saying, I'm just talking about things that normally people don't talk about. When people talk about, certain icons like Villa or, any other of the revolutionary leaders, they usually talk about the good things,
exactly,
which is it's cool to talk about the good things so we can remind ourselves of what great history we have of our people. But let's not forget the bad things that went down as well. A lot of the things kind of go hand in hand with what the leaders of cartels are doing nowadays.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
Even though it sounds pretty fucked up putting it that way,
Yeah,
but it was pretty fucking crazy. Like, and even back then, because there was less laws. Like back then, there was like it's almost like free for all in a way.
Wild West.
You know what I mean? The Wild Wild West. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Now I was gonna say like imagine nowadays what the cartel is doing un desmadre. Imagine back then, man.
Yeah, I mean, and you could even say that happened here with the Californios, like the
Oh,
early,
California, yeah.
which we'll get more into. There's a whole episode on that, but
Mm-hmm.
just how they, handled, their shit, with being, bandits or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man. I mean, and it goes back to what we were talking about last week. People want to romanticize people and paint them as either you're really, really fucking, perfect, or you're just a monster. And
Mm.
I think everybody's complex, bro. I mean, like, you know, there's no perfect person,
Nah.
So to overlook that, I mean, you can choose to do that. And like I said, I mean, I'm not here to shit on them. I mean, I love what they fought for. I mean, like I
Yeah.
legitimately, think that they did it for a good cause, But of course, I mean, there's going to be narratives, or there's going to be exceptions to the rule, like Che Guevara was somebody that I really idolized, like growing up. But when I began to look at what he was doing, I mean, like he's a murderer, bro. I mean, like all of these people are
Mm-hmm.
murderers. I mean, you can't deny that. I mean, like you can say, well, it was justifiable, because they were fighting for a good cause. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and going back to socialism, like the pros again, there's no competition, there's no classes as well, right? Everyone's equal, right? Um, the
But I
public,
mean, to be straight up, bro, on the down low, there's gonna be some shit going on.
no,
On the
of course,
down low, they're gonna have some like, oh, you know what? Here's a few more dollars for you, bro. Here's
yeah,
a few more this for you, just because you're so and so with so and so title. You
exactly,
know,
and that's what I'm gonna get into. But I'm just speaking like hypothetically, right?
hypothetically.
Because socialists will say, well, we never had a socialist country yet either, because every example that we had is not really socialist because of what you just spoke about, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about just the definition hypothetically
Uh-huh.
looks like, right? That's why people are attracted to that, because they hear that, oh, well, the public owns everything, right?
Mm.
Free or affordable healthcare, who doesn't want that, right? Education's free, right? The state regulates the price control, right? So they tell you how much things are worth. The cons, again, goes back to no competition. If there's no
Mm.
competition, leads to less innovation. I mean, who wants to create something if you're getting paid the same wage as somebody that, your neighbor, if your neighbor's a doctor and you're a fucking farmer, I mean, in their eyes, you're both worth the same shit.
So
You know,
if you want to be like, say that you want to do some competition online, like you know what I mean, with some social media shit, you want to be like competing, like, oh look, I'm getting more likes or whatever. What happens? Like officially by law, you cannot be better or try to be better than others.
I think it depends on the country. I mean, because like I said, I don't think based on the definition, we haven't really seen a socialist country, but it
Mm-hmm.
goes back to what you were talking about. Can we really see one?
Oh,
Because
okay.
there's always going to be that, well, if you're doing this, I'm going to give you a little bit of extra cash, or I'm going to give you a position, right? that allows you to have more power, and which is exactly what's happened with history, right? We have a lot of so-called socialist countries, right? What ends up happening, we have dictatorships,
Mm-hmm.
we have limited freedoms, the economies are fucking trash, you know, mass famines, mass murders, emigration.
Mm-hmm.
People leave the countries. If they were so great, you wouldn't people wouldn't leave them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And that's the ugly part of
I agree.
socialism, or at least the experiments that we've tried. And we have, you know, dozens of at least a dozen of them, you know, that we tried, we've seen, you know, and they haven't worked.
Bro,
So
that's a perfect word you use right there, bro. Experimenting. It's really what it is, bro. It's really what it is. Because till this day, no country has ever said, you know what, this is the best type of way to live. This is the best method to use for 90% of people to be happy. Like no method has ever worked completely.
there hasn't, you know, and I think people have attempted to say that, right? Well, this system is the best because, you know, we have, like, again, going off the definition, if people would actually do that and follow that, then yeah, we will live in a perfect country,
They
right?
might, yeah.
But
Mhm.
going back to human nature, we can't do that. I mean,
Mhm.
history has taught us that we are naturally competitive. We're naturally going to want to be better than somebody else, right? Um, but yeah, man, just to give you some examples, bro. I mean, like, um, you know, 6 to 10 million people got killed. You know, so when these countries became socialist, because a lot of them were, you know, capitalist countries, right? When they became socialist countries, because the transition from that to socialism, you know, it wasn't okay, you know, especially if you were rich. I mean, think about that. If you're a rich person, right, in a socialist country, I mean, they took your shit away.
Mhm.
And if you didn't abide by that, even if you weren't rich, bro, even if you were, you know, just a farmer that owned some land, right, they would just take your shit away. And if you did not, you know, agree with it, they would just eliminate you, bro. They would just kill you, right? So
Wow.
6 to 10 million people in Europe killed, right? You know, with and just in the last, you know, in the 20th century, right? And Latin America, we saw it there too. You know, we saw how, uh, you know, the privatization of resources, right? So, for example, in Venezuela, all right, when he tried to privatize the oil, right? It was, oh, you know, it's for the people, whatever. But I mean, it just led to famine, bro, because of all the sanctions that the U.S., you know, like,
Uh-huh.
had on them. You know, like, even if you wanted to be a socialist country and if you were doing shit right, if the rest of the countries around you are not, and they could just say, you know what, I ain't gonna do business with you and shit, then you're fucked. Unless you have everything in your country that you can grow, then I'm sorry, homie. I mean, you're not gonna make it, you know. And then the native populations lost your land, you know, which people argue about. You know, you should give the land back to the natives. They lost your land because you say, well, you know, it's not your land really. It's the state's land, you know. And then they
And
got
it's sad too, bro. It's sad
yeah,
because what else do they know?
exactly
They
right.
they take them off of the only thing they've done the whole fucking life, bro. Imagine that. Only thing you've done is just fucking, sembrando, bro. Sembrando, and they take you off of that. You're like, that's why a lot of Native Americans, bro. I read that a lot of them, what's it called? They commit suicide, bro.
Yeah,
They commit suicide. They get into, they become drunks. They just like they just they just it's like they're like, fuck this. What the fuck is the point of life if we can't do what we have been doing our lives? Like we were happy doing that,
exactly. I mean,
you
that's a
know.
good way to say, you know, fuck this, bro. Like, damn, like, I didn't even think about it like that, you know.
It's a trip, bro, and that's just in the history, bro. There's a lot of stories similar to that of nowadays, of
He's
just modern day, life where communities, like I've heard this, and I was actually watching a documentary, but I heard that this was going on even before the documentary came out. That over here in Santa Cruz,
mhm,
that there's a community. It's called Beach Flats, where they were raising, crops of just different things, bro. And they would get the community like once a month or something like that, or even maybe more throughout the month. They will get the community together and have a barbecue with the stuff that they were raising there at that location. and they were trying to the same people that own the beach boardwalk were trying to they also own that whole front block, the whole like houses all like throughout the area of the beach boardwalk, and they own that little area where they were raising the crops, and they were trying to take that away from the campesinos, bro.
Oh,
That were the campesinos were the ones in charge of that place, bro. They didn't know anything else. They came over here from Mexico, bro, and they started just working. They were living there, and they were raising crops and stuff like that. And they ended up letting them keep it, or at least stay there to to maintain it. And they don't know anything else, bro. And they're just kicking them out. And it's sad, bro, because the campesinos they're like, ¿qué más hacemos? Estamos aquí por años y
Yep.
nos están diciendo que ya no tenemos que ir, nos vamos a regresar a México y nunca regresar. We're gonna go back to Mexico and never come back, bro. They've known this life for years, and it's like the government is just like, I want to para back to Mexico. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's sad, bro.
The irony about that is that, you're talking about how it's a group of people doing that, trying to, I don't know if they're socialists or communists, right? I mean, the people doing this, I mean, but if that was the case, I mean, you talk about, well, we're collecting, we're taking over this piece for the community, right? At least that's a, communist,
Mm,
idea, right? It's for the community, right? But you need to kick somebody out to have that,
mm,
which is kind of ironic because, they're already part of the community. Unless you're trying to include them, oh,
mm,
then what are you really doing, right? So the transfer of from, because a lot of people that I know, they argue that we need to go to socialism because, capitalism isn't working, right? Which I'm gonna get into it in a second. But how do you do that without fucking taking, shit from people? I mean, like, even if you're not a rich person, I mean, just the idea of private property is a no-no in a socialist country. You cannot own shit, bro. You cannot own things. You
mm,
cannot own property. You can't own things. I mean, you can have personal property. You can have your headphones or whatever. But let's say you wanted to go buy some land, you can't do that. So how can you ever grow? If you have an idea, right? You can't. You just have to be a fucking worker and contribute to the state, and the state will determine if that's good enough or not. Like, it's just, to me, that is not. It's I would not want to live in a country like that where the government determines what you're worth. How much you contribute to the society, right? Um, and just going into China, because China's a little different in the sense that they're considered socialists, but they do practice a lot of capitalism, in their country, right? And but the people who benefit from that are usually the people in government, or just people who
mm,
are part of these families that have always benefited from that, right? And what Mao did when he took over, he starved out 45 million people, and these were not just rich people. These were like small farmers, bro. He starved them out to collect their, like you said, the campesino, just to collect their land, right? So when socialists argue that, we should have socialism, why don't we talk about that, and the process of that? Because it's not pretty, man. If you want to have this, it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be pretty. You know what I mean?
that's true, bro. I mean, yeah, you can think about it like, cause even now you can actually even put that same thought into now with people that are buying the house. Even once they finish paying it, the it's not really theirs because
Not the
they
government.
haven't purchased the land. You
Yep.
know what I mean? So, but when you said that you can't grow stuff, I mean, we can grow stuff, but if they catch you doing that shit, especially if they catch you doing it and
Making money.
selling it for commercial use,
That's
like, yeah, you're fucked. You're fucked. You're fucked.
North
You know
Korea.
what I mean? But I mean, that's pretty much if you think about it in the bigger perspective, bro, of how the government runs. That's pretty much kind of similar, bro. Because if you think about it, they tell you one thing, but then underhand they're doing so much more that you don't even expect from the government to even do. And it's kind of the same thing. If
Yeah,
people are fucking, they have chickens and shit in like in rural, I mean fucking in the city and shit like
remember that.
yeah. I
Some
mean
too.
my neighbors have fucking chicken and roosters and shit. You know what I mean? So they're not supposed to. This is not no fucking, you know what I mean, whatever.
All right.
But same thing as a government, you know what I mean? They're not supposed to do all these things, but they're doing it. So it's like it's really,
The government.
yeah, it's really they have to really lead by example, and they really don't. I don't think any government has ever led by example, like fully.
They have good ideas, but they never
Good
practice.
idea. Yeah, see,
And
they don't do as they preach.
especially when your country becomes too big. I mean, the Constitution here, the way it was written, the amendments or whatever, it was not made for 50 states, bro.
Hmm.
It was made if you it was I mean originally it was only made for you know the agreement was okay, we're all going to be part of the United States, right? But we're all going to have individual rights as states because there really wasn't a federal government when they first started. It wasn't until the late 1700s when they called George Washington and said, "Hey, we
Hmm.
need somebody to take control of this shit because this experiment is not going to work." Because people were fucking shit up. They were just doing their own thing, and they could have easily been invaded. If somebody wanted to come in and do that, they could have done that. So that's when the federal government stepped in and said, "Okay, we need a federal government just to keep everybody in line, just to check them." But it wasn't intended to have 50 states, and that's why when you go, but just thinking about this whole COVID thing, the whole shutdowns, and everything like that. That's why each state has their own little, way of doing it, right? And
Uh-huh.
usually the Democratic states, they all tended to shut down, and all the Republican states tended to stay open, for the most part. But that's a whole different topic. But anyway, I mean, like
Yeah.
that's why it's so hard to manage that now because it's just too big.
Hmm.
It wasn't made for that. But yeah, man, I mean, and just to end it with just to end socialism. Essentially, I mean, I don't have an issue with the ideology, you know, uh, at least not all of it. But to say that we need to become a socialist country, or to say that you know uh, we need more socialism in the country, I disagree with that because, like I said, we've seen numerous experiments, and if you unless you are gonna have Jesus lead the country or somebody with that kind of like personality or whatever, then I just don't see it becoming something positive, like and
Hmm.
especially if we don't have the freedoms that we enjoy here, it'll be too difficult to accept it. You know what I mean?
I mean, do you think that just like I believe the government has a cure for like diseases like AIDS and shit like that. Just the same as I believe that, I believe that the government knows of a system that could actually function, but they don't want to put it to work because then that would mean that they have to step up as leaders and actually fucking lead. And they don't want
You have a
that.
system that works for them, not
Well, it works for them. I'm saying
yeah,
as helping like people, like just the people, like we the people,
yeah,
which it doesn't really help us that much. I mean, they're
doesn't.
pretty much letting us fend for ourselves and shit. But I believe that they have a system that can benefit everyone. They just don't want to unveil that because then that would mean more responsibility for them as leaders and more
Do the job.
yeah, to have, and yeah, that would mean they would have to do their job,
Yeah,
So that's
you can't just sit pretty, and collect money. Yeah,
exactly,
I agree
or
with
just sign some fucking papers and that's it. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I agree with you. I think if they really wanted to try and fix a lot of the problems that we have, you know, they could fix them, but
Mm,
they're not interested in that, and I think also here, because we don't have, I think there has been attempts to do that in the past with, for example, Social Security. That was a big thing
mm,
back in, I think, was it what, 30s or 40s, if I'm correct.
mm,
um, that was a big, and that's a socialist ideology. I mean, like I said, I don't have an issue with socialism, as an ideology, but as an economic system, I'm just not fucking with that because, like I said, it's not working. Like maybe a little bit of socialism here and there, cool, but to totally have that, you know, I'm not with that. But just to get to the next one, capitalism, right? We hear this all the time, and some people, at least most of our people, I would say, are not with it. Again, going back to just being historically victimized by it. I mean, we've been exploited by capitalism. We've been, colonized. We were enslaved. We were murdered because of capitalism, right? So most people look at the ugly side of it, and I can see why they don't like it. You know, you know. But what I like about capitalism is that the private sector is the one that controls the means of production, and what that means is that
Mhm.
you know individuals are able to do that. Do we have enough raza doing that? No, we don't. I mean, like I said, we're at the bottom of the economic ladder right now. We don't have you know people controlling that, so we can't really make decisions that affect the government like you were talking about. The system that helps the government now is it's capitalist. They have enough power, like the cartels in Mexico. They have the power. Okay, I want you to pass this this piece of legislation. Here's some feria. Do your thing. We don't have that. That's why nobody gives a fuck about our opinions. They'll give us some bones. Okay, vote for me because I'm gonna tell you that I'm gonna do this and shit. But we don't have any economic power as a community. Because we're so focused on we need to be we need to be more socialist. We need to be more communist. We're not looking at the things we have here today, and like you talked about with Reaganomics, whatever, Reaganomics. We're not exploiting that. We're not taking advantage of it. So at the end of the day, we're wasting our time. At least I think
Mhm.
that. You know.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You're right on, bro. Um. I mean, when we should. I mean, the whole thing with how we are today as a people, like it's just. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's a loose word, capitalist. I mean, people all the time like fuck this being a capitalist and all these people with picket signs and shit. But
Fucking murder.
yeah, I mean, everything really has a bad fucking history, bro.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
a bad thing of history within all topics of life.
Exactly.
Something fucking terrible happened at one point or another when you talk about different things of history. But and this is going up for the people that say that I want to live like the people like my ancestors used to live.
Here we go. Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. It's like, would you rather be living in a place where you have to trade things and there's no monetary gain off of nothing? You have a chicken, you trade it for some fucking for some fucking milk or some shit.
Mhm.
Like, do you really want to live in that society where you can't even express yourself like you really want to express yourself? Like, you can't fucking, in some countries women can't even fucking drive. They can't even speak publicly.
Yep.
They'll get fucking stoned to death.
I hear what
Like,
you're saying.
you know what I mean? So it's like people want it, people want it perfect. People want everything to be
Oh yeah.
fucking perfect.
You know.
Because if not, they're outside fucking like, chanting something, fucking, you know what I mean? Bring back our people's way of living, like all this and that. You really, I mean, think about it. If you were to really, it's like saying like a person that is all suicidal and shit, right? Let me put it this way: a person that's suicidal and just all the time they have outcries like, I'm gonna kill myself, I'm gonna kill myself. If you really wanted to kill yourself, you would already been dead.
Mm-hmm.
If you really wanted to become something, you would already been that person. You would have already had established something to start living in a certain way,
Much waste.
not going outside with the picket signs and saying I want this to happen. You were already had done it with your own family.
Exactly.
Obviously, you want someone else to start it for you, so that way you can go along and be a follower, just like you're a follower right now, probably with whoever you're hanging out with, going out there and doing some whatever chanting shit. But that I mean, I'm not saying that let's not fight for
You
stuff.
saying the protest round? Is that what you're saying? Nah, nah.
Yeah, protesting, bro. Uh, but I'm not saying like let's not fight for what we see as certain problems in the government or but let's also start something. If you want to see something being done, what are you doing to start that
Fact.
movement? What are you doing besides just putting shit on social media? Oh, let's break down that fucking statue. Let's do this. Let's go into and break some windows at some random businesses just because we're pissed. Like, what are you doing to change things? And
That's
I,
childlike behavior if you think about it, and that's like a tantrum.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
a tantrum in the fucking store because I don't like what's going on.
And really, that's what I think about people that talk about capital, this capitalist society and things like that. I think being capitalist, which I say again, has a fucking daunting fucking history, which everything else does too. But overall, bro, like I think most
system.
mostly everyone agrees that it's like the best way of functioning as a fucking human, bro.
And I like how you said that function as a human because I used to be anti-capitalist. I mean, I'm speaking from that perspective. Like I said, I used to be more socialist in my 20s. I was all about Che Guevara, rocking my Che Guevara shirts. You know, all that shit that I used to eat up. I mean, and I think I understand why people again are socialists because I mean, nobody wants to be doing fucked up things. I mean, unless you're just a fucked up person. I mean, most people want to help out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they wanna be able to help out. People in their communities. And and feel like they're doing something right. They feel like they belong to something right. So I remember I don't know if you saw this during the. To me, it was really interesting how after the George Floyd murder by the cop, how it went from BLM to eat the rich. Like it just became something that had nothing to do with police brutality. I mean, you know businesses being fucking destroyed. I mean, like, um and I remember I saw a Twitter post that somebody said, first we started in the in these areas, but now we're going to the residential areas where we're really gonna fucking kill the rich. I don't know if that was true or not, if they're gonna do that, but it makes me think about you want to be helpful, you want to live in this utopian society, but yeah, look at the shit you're doing to get there. You're like you need to do some fucked up things to get there. So don't come at me with I know I just want to help people out. Like
Mm-hmm.
nah, homie, like you at the end of the day, you're still self-serving. You still want to do it for maybe for your ego. Like I want to be the
Mm-hmm.
guy who went down in history. That fought in the revolution. That was throwing up his fist and saying, what, fuck the rich, whatever, right? But yeah, man. I mean, I think when you said, it's the best for humanity, I think capitalism is the closest to evolution. What I mean by that is that if you look at the history of evolution, right? If you believe in evolution, the theory of evolution, you will see that the organisms that survived are the organisms that adapted to the environment, to the world changing, right? And capitalism, the way you survive, you know, and this is going back even just to growing up in the hood and just living that lifestyle. I mean, like, how do you survive? You adapt, like you learn how to do things better. Otherwise, you're gonna be the homie that's dead, or you're gonna be the person that gets locked up. You know what I mean? Like, so I think when I look at it like that, it's like, it's our human nature to be capitalist. It's our human nature because even as a sperm cell, when you come out as a sperm cell, you are competing with other sperm cells to be born. You know what I mean? Like, so it's impossible not to be competitive. It's in our nature,
Mm-hmm.
bro. Like, that's how I see it.
Man, that's a lot to take in, bro. It's a lot to take in.
Take it in,
Like
bro. Take it in, and
I'm looking at it as a person like watching this. You know, someone that's really interested in this type of stuff, bro. And like, I don't want to like, we're talking about too many facts and things like that, which we will be providing.
yeah,
You
of
know what I
course,
mean?
always.
And I've been putting them on. So when you watch it on Spotify or Apple, whatever, I'm putting the same citations from YouTube onto there, so that you know what I mean. No matter where you go, you'll be able to see those, in the description. But well, like going back to the whole thing where we talk about you know, making sure that we are educating our own. Because
Mhm.
that's really what a lot of us, like you mentioned, bro, back when you were in your 20s, you were, and I remember a lot of people, I never really got into that whole thing where, wearing the Che Guevara and what I mean, people used to rock the little colita with the little braids and shit. Oh, this is from my Indian roots. Like people used to rock. I'm like, okay, cool, that's cool for you.
I,
Pero like
I had one of those trencitos, bro. So you kind of me, my 20s. Anyway, go ahead.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like a lot of people did all that, and it
Yeah,
was like this dream, this illusion that was sold to our people. Like, look at these people that were trying to, they were trying to, they were trying to bring about a great change for us.
trying to
But
go. Of
really, when you look under the, behind the scenes, they were doing it for personal gains.
course,
Really, I mean, not
always.
to say it like that, bro, but like it's pretty egoistic what some people have done through history. They've done it for personal gains. Um, and it just so happened that down the line, as they were doing this, they ended up making some accomplishments that they get recognized by. So we recognize them as a symbol for change, as a symbol for freedom, and that's why they got adapted into certain aspects of younger generations,
Yes.
because that's it's like what schools preach something, but youngsters are going to try to find other information besides what is being taught at school. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the same thing as kids wanting to hear curse words. They'll find them.
Oh
Back
yeah.
when I was a kid, we didn't have no social media, but we had. Have you ever heard Pepito stories, bro?
Oh yeah.
We will find a way to corrupt ourselves, bro.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Or corruption is not a bad thing either. To corrupt our mind from the good and to make it the opposite, kind of like a rebel type, to become a rebel of the norm. So
Hmm.
that's kind of corruption if you look at it, through the other lens, through the lens of the people that were initially giving you the structure.
Interesting.
So,
But
so basically, I never fell into that. I
hmm.
was always like kind of like a bystander, like seeing all these changes, and I still kept my Chicano style, way of dressing and way of talking, way of living and shit. Like I was just a bystander looking at all these people like change their how they live, and just because of something that was taught by either a family member, or what, the revolution's here, homie. You got to follow these people. Like Cesar Chavez is revolutionizing how our people, get to be in the future, and things like that. And even though, yeah, I mean, I did say si se puede. You know what I mean? That's something that I followed as a kind of like a, like a motivating thing for myself. Like like I can do this. I don't give a fuck who tells me what, I can do this. But overall, bro, I think it's just an illusion that we follow, that we fall into, and then we find out that really what was always there was yourself, that you were able to basically jump over these hurdles. Your that more that guidance was always there, bro. But it was always self.
Hmm.
It wasn't no outside sources that's supposed to help you from any situation that we're going through as a people. It's always a self. So we're looking for answers from other people when really we already have it. It's to just basically do things the right way for self. You know what I mean? As a people.
Yeah, and I think what stands out to me when you talked about when these people were doing all these things, when you're just watching them, like I think it's people were doing it as a way to stay relevant, feel
Mm,
relevant, to feel like they belong to something. It's like that gang mentality. I want to be part of the hood because I want to
mm,
be with the homies. Like I remember for me, like that transition from that hood mentality to the academia. I mean, now for me was a hard transition because, like I told you, earlier in one of my old, I think it was one of the previews. The I forgot what we called it, right? But anyway, like, we were talking about how when I transitioned from that, you know, state of mind to now I have to be into academics, and you know, how I felt like I was losing a part of myself that I didn't want to let go of,
mm,
But academia was that, I guess, that replacement drug. You know what I mean? Like I felt relevant in that because first I felt relevant with the hood mindset, but now it's okay. I'm no longer, 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever. Now I'm 21, 22. I'm transitioning to a young man, whatever. And now this is my mindset. Now I still have that fighter mentality, but it was for, like you said, to fight the man, to
mm,
fight capitalism, to fight the exploiter. I mean, I was doing that. I wanted to stay relevant. I wanted to stay true to my identity. At least that's what I thought. You know,
mm,
but and like we talked about earlier, I spent all those years doing that instead of building my capital, building myself, investing into things that I probably should have done. Like I recently started buying silver because I mean silver. it's a precious metal, and the dollar is gonna drop, and that's just gonna skyrocket. So that's my thing now. I mean, I'm doing things that I would never do in my 20s because I was like, well, why would I want that? I mean, I want to
Mm,
fight the revolution. I want to go in and and use my brain to defeat the white man. To show them that that I do belong or whatever. I always trying to prove myself to these people that, one, probably they don't even give a shit, and two, you know, regardless if they approve of me or not, I mean, it wasn't really going to make a difference, right?
mm,
So just to end the whole thing on capitalism, what I wanted to say, why I prefer it over all these other ones, is because it gives you incentives to be rich, right?
mm,
Uh, encourages innovation, right? Competition. It makes you efficient. If you want to be rich or whatever, if you want to live off of that, you're gonna do it right. You're not gonna do a fucked up job, as opposed to if you're in socialism. Well, I'm gonna get paid shit money anyway. Why should I give a fuck about what I'm doing? I'm not gonna be efficient. So um, like I said, there's negatives, right? You can have monopolies.
mm,
The production can damage the environment, just exploitation of the worker, right, and consumer. Uh, Massive inequalities, which is what we see now, right? You have really, really rich people, you have really, really poor people, right? And you also have recessions, which we're going to have pretty soon if we're not already having it. But
mm,
at the end of the day, you're the player in this game, and you decide,
mm,
where you stand on that. As opposed to the other ones, you don't really have a say. The government tells you where you belong.
mm,
And the other one, well, you're just doing it just to get by. I mean, in communism, you're just doing it just to survive. You're not really living for anything. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
here, you're creating things. Like you could say you buy things you like. I mean, some people might think that's not okay, but for me, I would prefer to live in this than any other society, bro. Like you said,
mm.
you know.
See, and let's take it back in history, bro. With the Vietnamese War, bro.
Mm.
These people, I've seen documentaries, bro. It's fucking sad, bro. Not only that, but I used to work in this one place where we used to make pasta, like different types of pastas and shit. And I was a machine operator, and we used to have a lot of Vietnamese employees there, people that worked there, and they would talk about, bro. They would talk about all kinds of crazy shit that's sitting over there. Fucking kids just dead everywhere, bro. And I'm like, bro, these people are just like campesinos, like, you know what I mean? They're yeah, they have a they're simple people, bro. Simple people that just are just living from the land. And you know, countries like the US, we go out there, brainwash these soldiers that a lot of them were there not even by choice.
Yeah,
They brainwash them, just use them as fucking you know what I mean, just to go kill, and just for their own benefit, for for the higher ups and the government's benefit, not even for the people. And then they brainwash the audience that are watching this go down on the news and have them cheer for the US killing fucking kids out there.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And
yeah. Of
it's like, to this day, bro, to this day, like a lot of that has still, is still harming a lot of people,
course.
because of this. Like, just I mean, just people that, kids that were there, you know what I mean, and see shit as adults now, like they have that anger for the US, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
I don't blame them.
And like what crazy shit. We're doing this to other countries, bro. You don't, I mean, somewhere down the line, someone's gonna fucking overthrow the fucking this government.
That's why they hate us. I mean, and then justifiably so. I mean, like you said,
You
and
know what I mean? And that's why, like what I say about the whole thing, being on, on the DL, and they have their own plans. So we as a people, and I want to just focus in on our people talking about, how we're just like I was saying, like we're just bystanders. We're just looking at things go by, and we're not getting any better.
not
We're
in the
not.
game.
We're just going with the fucking flow, bro.
Or
You
we're
know,
just in the game. We're not really
yeah.
going the game.
And with that, I wanted to get into if we're gonna have this type of a platform, bro. I would like to talk about things that we've learned of investments.
Hmm.
How can we teach others how to invest. And what I personally have been doing, I like I like moving my money from bank to bank, like online. When I notice that the interest rate goes down on the certain bank that I have my money, I like moving half and half to another one and just finding the best one because they always like fluctuate. Um, and I would like to let people know that you know don't just have your money like put it somewhere where it's
Growth.
growing.
Yeah.
Yes, put it somewhere where it's growing. Like that's what fucking like rich people do.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
by all means, I'm not rich at all. Like I've been able to save some money. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like the little that I have saved, um, I don't want it to just I can take it out in cash and just keep it in my fucking like room or whatever or in the safe or whatever. But it's just gonna sit there, like like keep it in somewhere where it's growing. And not only that, but I'm looking into like investing on certain companies
Yeah.
where they,
Uh,
they use it for whatever they need to. And then basically if their company grows, then your money fucking grows. You know what I mean? So I'm looking into something like that. So if anyone, wants to comment on that and basically put more, because look at bro, I follow a lot of black leaders that they talk a lot about this, and I go into their lives and they talk a lot about this. I have dialogue with them, and I mentioned, I'm a Chicano, and I'm trying to bring a lot of these concepts that you guys are talking about, and I believe that as minorities, we should all, give each other tips and pointers of if we know something, let's get that over to you guys. If you guys know something, give that info to us because we live side by side in most states. We live side by side, like let's fucking make it together. And they're all in, bro. Like they're maybe like in the 30s, most of the ones that I follow,
mhm.
so they're already past that whole youngster,
Yeah.
stupid mentality shit. They're on point where we're at. Where they're thinking logically. Where what I mean, like, oh, let's let's put the whole differences aside because there's differences. I mean, every race has their differences. You know what I mean? But let's put the differences aside. We do live close, side by side in most places. Let's make it together. Just like Asians do it, but together, bro. Imagine together if we give each other fucking we know something, that let's give them some of the knowledge that we know. And they were talking a lot about that, bro. They talk a lot about the whole thing where bonding together in the community and getting like 20 bucks from each person so we can save it in the save it for something that comes up for the community, bro.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? That type of talk. How maybe together, with our tax return, each person within the neighborhood can put in like 5 to 6 grand and put it into something to buy a certain land and grow something and for the community. And I'm
See,
like, dope. That's fucking dope, bro.
what I
Like,
like about that idea, I don't know if you were done.
oh yeah, no, I'm just saying that's a dope idea that no one really is going into. No one wants to go into it because they fear someone trying to, yeah, it involves money, but it really takes mature understanding people that are willing to prosper to
financial.
get that done. Yeah, yeah, that too, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I really liked about that idea was that you blended in, and again, most people don't even think about this, right? When we talk about, all of these different philosophies, how you can blend some of the pros from all of them, like um, like you just mentioned right there how you got a community, right, to get together. Okay, what's our goal? To buy land, right, and to whatever grow stuff on it, whatever you're gonna do with it. So you're using a communist idea, but you're also using a capitalist idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most people are not really thinking like that. So I think, I mean, if you really wanted to have the best system, I mean, there really is no perfect system, but I think you would implement some of the pros from all of them, and eliminate the cons and see what's not working,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But as far as us as a community, how we're doing, you know, in 2015, you were mentioning this earlier. You were talking about how prior to the Reagan era, we weren't really, involved with businesses, or we weren't really building shit up,
Yeah.
but right now we're actually, 1.5 times more likely than any other, a group to become entrepreneurs in the US.
Mm,
So our time is now, bro. Our time is now to start building our brand, you know, uh, and there's so many ways to do that. That's what I love about capitalism. I mean, you can do it in so many ways. I mean, like, and I think a big reason why the intellectuals don't like capitalism, and I've heard this from other people, is that when you're an intellectual, you're taught that you're the smartest in the class. You're the best in the
mm,
class, right? But when you go out into the real world and your ideas are not making you money, or you're not in the hierarchy on the top, and you get a little jealous, you get a little bitter, because homeboy is maybe is not that smart like you, at least with the books, but he's still making a killing. And you become resentful, so you're like, man, we don't need that kind of system, because it doesn't reward me, because I'm the smartest guy in the group or whatever. So I should be able to use that to to advance the society, and it doesn't work that way.
mm,
If you don't in this system, if you don't produce stuff, you're just a consumer. You know,
mm,
and as a community, we just all we really do is consume. Like we don't really
mm.
stuff. And like you said, we're not aware of some of the things we can do. You talked about how you move your money, right? I talked about buying silver. One of my brothers, he's been collecting sports cards for years since he was a kid. You know, and
I
I don't
still
know if
got mine too.
yeah, I don't know if you noticed now. I don't know if you've been to the stores, but they're just fucking flying, bro. The sports cards, you
Mm,
cannot find them. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know why, but they're a hot commodity right now. People want to buy them, so he's been selling his what he calls his trash cards, like online, and just pretty much every day he's making money, bro.
Oh shit, they're selling? Oh, I should sell
He's
mine.
selling, bro.
I have a
He's
lot of rookies, bro. I have all
got
like the
Kobe's, he's got Jordans, like
oh
things that he's just been on it, and now with the whole
mm,
Pokemon thing, the 25-year anniversary,
they're
that
coming back. Yeah.
he was out there, going to McDonald's. That's
Huh.
awesome, bro. And then also me and him, we gotten into sports gambling, like and and I know like that could become addictive, or that could become, like, well, why are you even getting into gambling? But the way we do it, we use data, we use logic,
Mm,
and last year was the first year where we actually made some pretty good money, and but I had to give it back to the feds, because they fucked me over with taxes and shit. So back to the
uh,
government, like
yeah.
but yeah, man, I mean, like, there's so many ways to make money in the society, and we just are not taking advantage of
Yeah.
it.
And let's not forget, bro. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
instead of complaining like you were talking about on social media and saying why white man has more money than you, or why we're getting exploited, get your ass out of there, do something about it,
Mm-hmm.
take some money, and help out the rasa in the community. That's my
Mm-hmm.
mind.
Yeah, that's dope, man. And what I let's not forget, bro, that it takes money to make money.
Exactly.
Not only that, but it takes risk to make money. A lot of millionaires nowadays, took it took them years to actually see some actual profits. I know a lot of people that I've read on, that they've lost actually like $1 million
Mhm.
before they started seeing good money come in. They lost a business or whatever. Some even become homeless for a while. They bounce back up and then they do their thing. You know what I mean? So like, if you haven't failed in something, that means that you haven't been trying hard enough.
There you go. There you go.
Hmm.
That's a good you know good way to segue into the next the next thing we're going to talk about. Yeah, I mean, it's just it's risk, like you said, taking that risk, and I think in our community, and you were talking about this earlier too. I mean, and it's just probably because of history, and maybe even religion, or maybe just the way we've been brought up, like we're taught to be humble, and not show off,
Hmm.
and not advocate for yourself, and not ask for that raise at work, or not, especially women, I think more so than men, like they tend to be more agreeable, generally speaking, anyway, but in our communities, like the women, I mean, they they don't ask for raises. I mean, and I know
Mm,
there's that whole gender pay gap, right? Which is real, but a lot of it has to do with that women just do not advocate for themselves, at least, generally speaking. Again, I'm not talking about for every single person, because I know someone's gonna say, well, that's not true, not all women, are like that. I mean, I'm not saying that, but generally speaking, that tends to be, one of the issues that we have,
mhm,
uh, and also the whole, women, they obviously get pregnant, so they take time off, and then um, they put their careers, on the back burner, right? And then us, what are we taught to do? Work hard, work hard. The men go and work hard.
mhm,
Doesn't matter what you're doing, just work hard. You
mm,
could be busting your back, you know, as long as you get home and and you're handling business, you can be making minimum wage, or you can be making, um, and a lot of times it's construction jobs, and not to hate on that. I mean, like if it's making you money, then keep doing it,
mm,
but if you don't have to break your back, or if you don't have to, I've always said work smart instead of hard,
mhm,
because we've been hard workers, like I talked about. We've been hard workers historically. That's been our history. Nobody works harder than us, and
mm,
I'm gonna stand by that. I mean, we just have worked our asses off,
mhm,
and that's not necessarily working for us.
mm.
You need to find those loopholes. You need to find those things that get us money. And I think we kind of
Yeah.
talked about that. You know,
Yeah. Let's not forget the value that you mentioned, hard work, and let's not devalue the fact that a lot of our jefitos in the barrios made it,
yeah,
came from nothing and ended up, getting a house.
yeah,
That's, imagine that, bro. Imagine going to, like, say like, Italy or some shit. You don't know the language, you don't know any of that shit. So you're starting from zero. You know what I mean? You don't know the culture, you don't know none of that shit. And it just so happens that Italy, has a booming economy. So, it has a lot of possibilities, a lot of options and shit. Uh and you end up working hard, and then one day you actually get a house. Like that, that's the American dream, bro. Getting a house, that's the American dream. And if they were to have come from a country that
didn't
seen
instill.
the value seen the value of and the importance of using your brain instead of your hands, they would have came over here and been a part of, like, Fortune 500 companies, bro.
Yeah,
With that fucking persistence, and I'm talking about Mexican persistence, bro. Mexicans, like, bro, we are the earliest risers, late freaking, the latest ones to go to sleep, bro, because
yeah.
we're working all fucking day, bro. So that fucking ganas that we have in life to make sure that we have a better tomorrow, putting it into work where we use our brains more, bro. Like, we would have been some other shit, bro, some other type of, like, billionaire race, bro.
And I think that's where we can get to, with what, what we're talking about. I mean, I'm not. I know it may sound like I was shitting on hard work. I mean, I'm not. I
No,
mean,
no, 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 no. I
there's
get you, bro. I get you. I get you. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
so I mean, like, you're right. I mean, but if you combine, both of them, I mean, definitely would be some, something else, But what I mean though is that I just, and you mentioned this earlier with, with Asians, how
Mm-hmm.
they have this tight knit, group of people who they help each other out. I mean, like, I don't know if you experience this, especially with, like, with immigrants, or just, like, with now. I don't really see this much with Chicanos. I mean, like, uh when you work with immigrants, it's almost like if you're not getting your hands dirty, or if you're not, busting your back, and what the fuck are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're moving too slow. Like, hurry up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was it was ironic because I already had my degree, right? I was working at a dump, and I was putting stickers on the what do you call, on the big old, garbage bins, right? That was my job to do that. And I was very careful and shit. And the guy's like, "You're moving too fucking slow. And, like, you need to hurry up." Like, like we got more to do and shit, like, and that's what I mean, like that mindset of like, if you're not doing that, then you're not valuable to your family, to your culture. Like,
Mhm.
are you even Mexican? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, how that does help us, get houses like, like your pops, like my grandparents. That's how they got their house, and uh, but at the same time, it also cripples us because I mean, it gets to the point where you can't really work hard anymore because I mean, your body's gonna give
Mhm.
out,
Yeah.
and you need to have
Now,
something else to
yeah,
back that up.
yeah. Not only that, bro, but that echo in your mind is there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my dad used to always like, he used to complain and stuff like, there's no downtime here. There's no such thing as downtime. Like it's like, ¿qué haces sentado ahí, cabrón? Like, what are you doing just sitting there? Like,
You could have
do
been doing
something.
something really good. Like you could have been, creating something really creative, that could,
Yeah,
but you're not
and
using your hands. So,
yeah, even with the whole hip hop, bro. And that's
oh,
another thing I wanted to mention about earlier, bro. Like, we as a people, I think it gave us a voice. It
yeah,
gave us the huevos, bro, to
yep.
speak up for ourselves. I think hip hop was necessary, bro, for our people, because a lot of us were too modest to even speak up and say anything about anything, because we felt like we were, trespassing on someone else's land with our voice. You know
Mm,
what I mean? But going back to my pops, bro, having that voice in my head telling me, like, at all times, and I think that's kind of where some of my anxiety came from, having to always be doing something. You know what I mean? And I'm not blaming it on my pops or whatever, or whatever. It's just,
it's a
that's
good
just,
product.
yeah. I mean, it's a good quality, and he didn't just get it from him by himself.
No,
He got it from where he was raised. That was the motto. Pégale duro, way. Like, that was the motto. Like, get up early and do your thing all day. Don't come back until your fucking boots are dirty. You know what I mean? That type of mentality. So it's
back,
like, I understand it. And but is that really what life is about?
especially here in the States.
Yeah, well, you know what, bro? That mentality plus adding the pressures of the United States is like, it's like a fucking, like, a disaster waiting to happen, bro.
And that's where we're Chicanos, bro. That's how we have our own culture because we have
Yeah.
that whole Mexican side of us, that
Mm-hmm.
tells us, hey, you gotta bust your ass up. But then, like, hey, like, well, why though? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why can't I, do this and then still thrive, in this society? I mean, like,
Well,
luckily,
why though? Or you see that belt? That's why. That's why. Nah, but you know what, bro? Like, that whole experience, bro, of like it wasn't too much that I pushed myself. It was that echo in my mind that kept telling me that you have to get your ass to work. And one thing that I do appreciate about my parents, that what they did, bro. I always wanted to go into the fields and work, bro.
you
They
said that.
never they never let me.
That was
They
good.
never let me, bro. But I did end up getting my first job at, like, late 13, almost 14 years old, when I was going into middle school. I went and looked for it myself. They weren't telling me to look for a job. They were just like, do good in school. But that echo in my mind, was in my mind all the time. Like, I would see my pops and mom, like, they would just work their asses off, and I'll just be doing school. And I'll be like, I gotta do more. You know what I mean? That thought in my head was like, I gotta do more. And yeah, so that's one good thing, but like, this new generation, bro, I don't think they have enough pressure of like, getting their asses up and doing something. Like, it's good, but don't get me wrong, do good in school,
Yeah.
because that is gonna take you a long place. But they need some kind of to be reminded of, like, you need to have experience too, because once you're done with school,
It gives you
you're
perspective.
gonna just you're not gonna understand you're not gonna appreciate the hard work. You're not gonna know what it feels like to put in that hard, sweat, all day working, sweat type of work, bro. And I experienced that two times over, you know what I mean? With, like, empaques and shit like that, just different places that I've worked, bro. They'll
Yeah.
bust your fucking ass, you know what I mean? And two shift jobs and shit. And it's like, fuck, bro. You know what I mean? So I experienced that shit, and I love that I did, because I know what it feels like to go through that. you know, and so that's why some of these kids are even scared to go out there and the fucking, you know, to look for a job because they don't want to experience something bad. But like, and then it takes me back to the same.
No, I think that's generational too. I think
Yeah.
that's a good point. I mean, and it's kind of off topic, but I think it's still relevant to talk about.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if you were done. You know, we were
Well, I was going to say that that you know it takes me back to the whole thing where you know we kind of like don't have that push. We don't have we expect someone to tell us how to handle things instead of us figuring things out by trial and error or by how someone is guide like a guidance. You know, their pops and mom they might be busting their ass off, but the kids are too far off on their TV or some shit, not focusing that they're busting their asses off. They have everything there for them. So they're like, okay, that's just life. Everyone has it this way. They think that everyone has it the way that they have it. But it's a good thing that I noticed that everyone else is people are worse off. You know, and they don't know that some of these kids don't know that shit. They don't even notice that shit. They're lost into fucking some YouTuber that they're into. You know what I mean? And that's fucked up, bro. Like I let my kids know. We even watch documentaries together, you know, about like, you know, back in the 60s, 70s where parents used to take their kids to the fields, bro. That
yeah
was a thing. That was a thing that they would do. Kids
yeah.
would bust their ass off. You see the kids right there picking, you know what I mean, fucking you know, different vegetables and shit. And you know, like you just see them working, bro. Kids.
Especially up north.
Yeah, exactly. That shit, it's a beautiful thing to see. Like back then, of course, the kids were like, "Ay, wait, no, no me quiero levantar porque you know, you have to get up 5 in the fucking morning, bro." Kids, bro, to go out there and work. That's fucking nuts. Tell that to a kid nowadays, they'll be like, "That's local." Yeah,
Just give me a look.
but
What you say?
exactly
What you say?
what you
But that's
say,
the thing, though.
man.
That's the thing. You know,
Yeah.
I don't blame them because you know Gen Z, which is the new generation. You know, they grew up with the internet. They grew up
Mm-hmm.
with cell phones. You know, so and I think more so the boys or the young men, whatever, they lack that motivation because you know our culture is changing. I mean, our culture around us is changing. Maybe not our culture. You know, like Chicano culture, Mexican culture is not. Latino culture is not. But the culture outside of them is changing, right? So they're growing
Mm.
up with that, right? So back in the day, you know, back when our parents, you know, were younger or whatever, the it was expected for the man to be the breadwinner and the woman to stay at home, you know, and that's the way she got done. I mean, in some cases, you know, yeah, you had, you know, women also working on the field, probably, you know, more so up north, you know, if both if both people were making minimum wage. I mean, my grandparents made minimum wage the entire life. I mean, that's something,
Mm.
you know, and so they both of them worked. But if you could provide as a man, you know, that's what you would do. And now more women are going to school, so more women are independent,
Mm.
or just, you know, becoming professionals, and the men are lagging behind. You know, they're
Mm.
not. So now, in our, especially, I'm talking about our men, you know, specifically Latino men, you know, we're lagging behind because we've been raised by people who say, you know what, you're going to be the breadwinner, you're going to be the one who's going to support the wife, the kids with hard work, but you're also getting culture saying, you know what, no, like women can go to work. So you're getting two different, you know, ideologies that are clashing with each other. So these young men are conflicted because now they're like, well, what do I do? Like, do I go to work? But what if
Mm.
my girl doesn't want to stay at home? You know, what if she
Yeah.
wants to go to work? Then what am I gonna do? Like, where am I gonna work? Am I gonna make less than my girl? Like, is that gonna be an issue? Like, is that gonna make me less of a man? I mean, like, you have all of these things that are affecting young guys, and I mean, like, so they lack that motivation. You know, they lack that.
Mm.
A lot of them get anxiety. Like, they don't know how to deal with that. You know, so it's a big culture clash that we're that those gender roles are changing. You know, where like I said, I mean, 50 years ago, it was pretty clear that the guy was there making the money. You know, and now in our culture, that's not the case. I mean, like these dudes need to find a different way to make money, or
Mm.
they're gonna be seen worthless by society, or just like, you know, by the culture. It's just gonna get worse. The suicide rates are gonna get, you know, they're gonna get worse, and all this shit is gonna happen. But yeah, man, you
Mm.
brought up a good point.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you mentioned the whole thing with like the wife, you know, making more than you, whatever. Like right now, me and my wife make about the same amount.
Yeah,
So I'm
same.
like, so it's like it's a trip, bro. Like that some people can get into their emotions because of something like that. Like I see it as a plus. Like if
It's,
your old lady is making money to begin with, they're bringing in money to where you fucking live, first of all. So you're benefiting from it. You know, you're benefiting from it. Your kids are benefiting from it. So it's like, what are you complaining about? You know what I mean? So it's like, but I understand it has to do with their ego, it has to do with you as a man, it has
Mm.
to do with how we were raised, and we've been told our whole life women are less than us because of whatever reason that they're supposed to be in a certain place, like be in your place, like it's like getting where you're fitting type of shit. We've heard that through hip hop as well and all that shit. Dehumanizing women and shit like that. But we have to, like you said, we have to adapt.
Exactly.
We have to go with the fact that things are more accepting, bro. And I'm not saying like just forget about your fucking past, like all that shit was bullshit, because a lot of it helped you to become who you are today.
Hmm.
But just realize the fact that certain things like you know okay, for example, you and your family are a team.
Exactly.
If you're not running as a team, if you're not doing things as a team, then how the fuck do you expect to win as a team?
Okay.
Can't. You can't. You can win things for yourself, you can do things for yourself maybe, but then what does that say about you as a man? What does that say about you as a if you want to keep that mentality of a provider and you're not providing in full as a family, then what does that say about your beliefs then? You're not really following your old beliefs neither then.
Questions
That's
with
the truth.
listeners. What do you guys think about that? Put in the comments.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, because people want to stay with old habits and shit. Like I have some old habits and shit, but like, it's up to us as men to maintain these habits and make sure that we're not overreacting with certain things. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Like, like I get angry about things and things like that. Like, I seem to be a perfectionist at times, and I don't like certain things that are done certain ways, but like, you know, everyone's not perfect,
Yeah.
but it takes dialogue. You have an issue, don't be a fucking child and just do childish shit. Be a team. And I'm talking about the men that you know what I mean that can't even get along with their old ladies, bro. And if we have people like that within our own, how can we ever prosper as a people if we have
Economic.
people with yeah economically? How can we ever prosper economically as a people if we have these childlike behaviors that they can't get over because of they've been trained to be this way by their whoever raised them or whatever,
That's a
by
good.
this ideology of how to be a man. Like my pops, he was always busy, like and I'm not saying that I blame him for it, but a lot of what I learned from school and from homies of how to be a man.
Fuck.
What I've learned from him is and from my parents is work hard. That's a big deal to me too. You know what I mean? But a lot of how, like, you know what I mean? How to, get with women and do this and that. My
Mhm.
mom would say, just treat them right, treat them right. But I mean that, you know what I mean? That doesn't really, but like, be like really, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean, bro. You grew up in the hood, shit like that. Like homies will put that in your head. The media will put that in your head. But it's like it takes a community to really come together and do shit. If you're
Yeah.
gonna do it right, let's fucking do it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I want you to say that same energy for that specific episode when we talk about, you know, single motherhood, and it looks like you have a lot to say about that, you know. So thanks for sharing that. But I do want to segue into to basically just, concluding today's session with, you know, you brought up a lot of good things. You talked about, especially right now, how you made the connection between partnership and also how that contributes to economic prospering, right? So the way I would want to end this, today for me, like the reason why I decided to have this episode is to, again, to inform the listener about the different types of systems and why we tend to lean more towards the left, more towards socialism and more towards communism, instead of spending our energy on, okay, how can we prosper in this system that we have now, capitalism,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and be part of that conversation, and not just be pawns in this conversation, because we can be the ones making the rules. We can be and we could be good about it. You know, we don't have to be assholes about it. You know, just because you're making money, like you said earlier, doesn't mean you're a fucking horrible person. You know, like what you do with that money is completely up to you. You know, how you treat people is completely up to you. Like money could change you. You know, if you're if you're if you're you know, God is money, then yeah, that's what's gonna happen to you. But if you don't let that happen, then I think you can still be a good person, you know? And so just to conclude this for me, I think capitalism for me is the best system. It's not perfect. It doesn't mean that, you know, it doesn't have any flaws, but I feel like we need to spend more time finding those loopholes, finding those ways to invest to become, you know, an economic powerhouse. I mean, we have the numbers when it comes to, like you said, you know, Latinos be fucking, you know what I mean? You talked about that, you know, the last episode. But if we're not using our money, you know, like to make changes, I mean, really, we really don't have any power. And I think that's
Hmm.
our next step as a community is to really find, you know, those ways to become a powerhouse economically. You know, what are your thoughts on that? How do you want to conclude?
Hmm. Concluding economy for the laterals. Man, I think we're a long way from from really seeing the fruits of the labor of in the U.S. as a people. There's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of egoistic mindsets. There's a lot of just desperdicio, bro.
Mhm. Yeah, still there. You froze a little bit, bro.
Oh, my bad, bro.
It's
Is
fucking. I was like,
good?
what's going on? He's like, he really got into his thought. You're good. You're
It's
back.
good? It's
Yeah.
good? Okay, okay. I see
I was,
something pop up on my screen right now.
I was like,
Uh,
thinking about that.
nah, so basically, there's a lot of desperdicio. There's a lot of like people that don't feel like tomorrow's promised. So
Mm,
they're like, fuck it. Why even do all this? And as a people, because we always, I feel that as a people, we fear the government so much so that we don't see it promised for us.
mm,
There's so many aspects of so many factors into where we are not welcome here. I mean, there's ICE, there's the government, shooting down our people. There's just a lot of aspects to where a lot of factors that we as a people see it and we put it all together, and then we start to say to ourselves like, is this really even worth it to fight for a country, to fight for ourselves in a country that doesn't even welcome us? So that type of thinking, I believe, is what holds people back from building their own monopoly, into really learning the whatever they need to learn to become the best they can be. They feel like tomorrow's not promised, so why even try? Let's just live as comfortable as we can at this moment with whatever money we make at this moment. Why try harder? Why do better? You know what I mean? But I feel that, and I've gone through that. I've gone through that stage where it's like it's like this government doesn't fucking love us. They don't want us here. Like fuck them. Should we go collectively to another fucking country and just settle down and do our thing over there? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I believe this is where we're gonna prosper the best in the U.S. because this is just it. This is just it. In comparison to other countries, how they do their thing, like I don't think we would fucking survive in other countries.
no.
For real. Like I don't think we would make it out there. Besides the language barriers and all that. Besides that, that's a minimum compared to other things that we will be struggling with out there. Um, but this is the place that we can prosper. So once that sinks into your head that this is where you're gonna have to put your fucking huevo y medio,
I'm working.
yeah, you really have to put that foot down and tell yourself every single fucking day, I need to do better than this.
There you go.
And if you have kids, with more
There
fucking
you
reason,
go.
you
There
need to do better than this. And it's like there's so many possibilities in the capitalist society, so many possibilities where you can do
you go.
anything you fucking want. You name it. There's a whole go online and find what careers can I get into, what interests me. Go down the fucking list. I know some people, a lot of people actually, that say, uh I don't know what I want to do with my life, and they're in their 20s and 30s, bro. I don't know what I want to do in my life. They're just working odd jobs and shit. I'm
Uh,
like, bro, is this gonna be your life working odd jobs? For real? Like picture this. Picture this. Like I'm talking to these people and like picture like I'm telling them, picture this, bro. 20 years from now, if you start going to school right now, or at least for a trade school, in a year or two, bro, in a year or two, you can finish that school and start doing what you want to do. Even in carpentry, you can do some shit in mechanics within a year or two, bro. Within a year or two. Nah, but then I have to get a loan because this and that. Bro, look down the fucking line. Look in the future. You know what I mean? What are you gonna fucking do if you don't know how to do anything, bro?
exactly.
And we don't put that thought into our people, bro. We let them fend for themselves, and then they end up, you end up hearing the news, oh, so and so, committed suicide, and then you end up finding out that no one was there to guide them. You know what I mean? And then we're over here talking about people, oh, no pusieron ganas, no pusieron ganas. Well, what the fuck are you doing to make sure that these people are putting their ganas in it?
Exactly.
Besides blabbing about these people that don't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good segue to end the episode, and really also to give us a preview of next week, because next week we're going to be talking about victimization, or that, you know because historically, I mean, we've been victimized, obviously. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't be where we're at. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the things that you said, you know um I agree with, and I don't want to get too much into it today, because like I said, that's for next week. But yeah, man, any shout outs, anything? I know that there's been a lot
Yep.
of people, liking our page, so that's
Yeah.
and any shout outs?
Yeah. Yeah, gracias to everyone that's been watching, listening through the the clips that we talk, we that I put up on the episodes and stuff, and on YouTube and stuff. People that have been watching, gracias for watching, and the people that are really 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 about it, talking that good talk, that good platicas. I commend you guys because you guys are not only putting yourselves out there, and gals. You know what I mean? I know there's females out there doing their thing with talking that good talk, and I want to shout them out. So Sin Manchas, you know what I mean? The homie from Sin Manchas, the homie has a good product, by the way. You know what I mean? Check him out. He talks a lot about that good plática with the different topics of that pertain to us as people. It's pura cultura. The homies, you know what I mean? They got that, their thing going. They talk about a lot about different topics and stuff. There's Down for the Brown, Chewy. He has Down for the Brown podcast. There's Velas with Barrio. What is it called? Barrio Voices. And then there's different clothing brands that are doing their thing. You know what I mean? There is what's it called? The homie Marco with Carnalismo clothing brand. There is there's a bunch of them. I mean, there's Porcho Wear, the homie with Porcho Wear.
I got some of the stuff.
Yeah. They're doing their thing. They're putting our this is our people putting out content of us. You know what I mean? And I want to see more of that. So I commend you all for doing your thing. There's La Chicana therapist. She has a Chicana Moms podcast, I believe it's called, but she talks a lot about that good plática with bring awareness to our people as a therapist. And so yeah, there's a lot of people doing their thing and bringing awareness to certain topics that we should be, more interested in because this pertains to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I want to get a shout out to some of my favorite capitalists.
Mm.
One of my cousins. I really respect him because he grew up in the same neighborhood I did. Uh, I believe he just has a GED, but was working at AutoZone for a long time, just doing like jobs like that, and then one day got the opportunity to move up north. I forget where he lives exactly, but the guy, built his own house. I
Mm.
mean, he he it's a huge house. I mean,
Wow.
and he's just self-made. I mean, the guy is literally self-made. I mean, he got some good opportunities, and I really respect him in that sense because I mean, he's making money, bro. I mean, and I respect that. A brother to my older brother, just the hustle that he has. That he finds ways, man, to make money, man. Like, and as an older brother, I mean, like I've always really respected his opinion, but I mean, he's always like, I feel like he's always ahead of the move, bro. He's like, okay, this is the next thing that's gonna pop off, and he's sure enough, it does. Um, Listeners that have been listening to me, shout out to Maria, Fabian, um, Douglas, just people that have been listening to my stuff. Jose Fergoso, just giving me feedback, just giving us feedback, on what we're doing. Just really like listening and actually going through the whole 2 hours, and
Hmm.
know, even going into specific, lines of, oh, he said that, that's pretty funny, like they like you, bro. They say you're pretty comical, they like your style, so uh,
I've
I'm glad,
always been a joker, bro. Always been a joker. Yeah.
that they like that vibe, but man, that's why I want to shout out, look out for episode number 4 next week, victimization. This is Flo,
Hmm.
and I'm out.
This is Brown. I'm out for today's episode. I can't wait for next week. Victimization. There's a lot to talk about that. You know, don't miss that because it's going to be a good plática.
That's
Thank
right.
you all for joining in. Like I always say, if not, it's today's Friday. If it's not uploaded today, it's going to be uploaded for sure tomorrow and in all audio platforms and YouTube. All right.
All right.
Gracias.
Peace out, Raza.
Peace.